Hey there, my name is Megan and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing what I like to call a project vlog, and today's project is painting this dresser right here. If you're new to my channel, I do DIY, macrame, home projects. I just had a baby, so I'm going to be doing some mom stuff. So if you're interested in any of that, please make sure you subscribe. So this dresser is pretty small. I purposefully bought it for this space. I found it on Facebook Marketplace and I saw that it was a really small dresser, which it was just perfect for this. I don't know how old it is. I don't know anything about it. It has the original hardware on it. It's pretty beat up actually. It could use something. It either needs to be refinished or painted. Has a lot of scratch marks. I personally don't really love that look when it comes to a piece of furniture like this. I probably could use some Murphy's oil soap and really clean it up, but either way, I want to paint it, and I'm going to use Annie Sloan's Chalk Paint. Annie Sloan recently came out with some new colors, and one of them is Chicago Gray, and I really like it. It's a very, very, very pale gray, and I think it would be perfect for this room, this space. Eventually, I want to paint the railings on the staircase behind it a darker color, so I think that both of those things will go together really well. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to clean this dresser. I'm going to use Crud Cutter. I normally use Windex. I don't have any Windex right now. Crud Cutter is also a great choice for cleaning furniture before you chalk paint it. It gets pretty much everything off. Windex is fine too. Yes, they're chemicals, but they work. I haven't found anything that is a little bit more environmentally friendly to use before I chalk paint. I'm on the hunt for something like that, but I'm just not 100% sure that something like that won't leave a residue, and you want to be really careful not to leave anything on the dresser before you paint it that could interfere with the paint sticking to the furniture. So I'm just going to go through, I'm going to wipe down the whole dresser and make sure it's really nice and clean, and then I'm going to paint it with Annie Sloan's Chalk Paint and Chicago Gray. I recommend doing really, really thin coats and being able to do several of them. Hopefully I can cover this dresser in 2 coats, but I might have to do 3, and then I want to go back and wax afterwards. So let's get started. So here's the dresser I'm going to paint. As you can see, it is pretty old, a little scuffed up looking. The hardware is original and very tarnished. Not really sure how that's going to clean up or if it will clean up, but if it doesn't, we can always spray paint it. And the great thing about this dresser is the design that it has in it. I think that once we paint it, that's really going to come out and we're really going to be able to see that shine. Luckily, there's a little bit of room in a brand new can of Annie Sloan's Chalk Paint because I always have to add a little bit of water. I probably add like 3 or 4 tablespoons, and it just is a little thick for me as is. So the first thing I always do is just add that water and mix it up really, really good. And I'm not sure how much help this is, but this is the viscosity of paint that I normally like to work with. I'm not doing anything fancy here. I'm using a regular paintbrush from the hardware store. It's a Wooster, just a medium size paintbrush for all paint types, and I'm really just slapping this stuff on. I don't take a lot of care in the first coat because it doesn't matter how well you put the first coat on, it's gonna always look spotty. The best thing to do is just to really slap it on and get it on there. The second coat is really where you're going to be able to fill in any spottiness and pay attention to detail. You also don't want to lay it on really thick ever. It doesn't look good. It's not worth your time. It's not how chalk paint is best used. Never lay it on really, really thick. If you have it really thick, you can simply just add water to your paint. So as you can see, when I start to do the second coat, it really starts to fill in all that spottiness and evens everything out really nicely. And I'm still using the same amount of paint. I haven't changed anything about my technique. I'm applying the paint during my second coat exactly the same as I applied it during my first coat. So I just finished no I didn't. So I just finished painting this. I was able to get full coverage. I'm really happy with it, with 2 coats, 2 applications of paint, which is, in my opinion, ideal for a basic chalk paint application. If you're doing more than that, then you might have too much water in your paint, or you might not have enough water in your paint. The other thing would be that you're using a paint that's more translucent. Like Annie Sloan's Pure is very translucent, and you will not get full coverage with 2 coats of paint. That's the only color that I know of that she makes that's like that. So the next thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna wax the dresser. Pretty basic wax application. I thought about antiquing this, but I don't think I want to now that I have it painted. I really like the way it looks. So I'm just gonna use Annie Sloan's clear wax. I do have dark wax, and I do plan to do a piece that I'm going to antique and use dark wax. So if you're curious about how to use dark wax, I will make that at some point, so look forward to that. I'm gonna apply it with an Annie Sloan brush. I don't typically use Annie Sloan's brushes for painting. They are very heavy. Even though this is the smallest one that she sells, it's still really, really heavy. But I do like the shape of it, and I just like the way that it applies the wax, so I do like to use it for that. I won't use it for painting and for waxing because it's just heavy, like I said, and my hand gets tired. So if I'm gonna use it for something, I'm gonna use it for waxing. So I save it for that. You don't need to use this kind of brush, an Annie Sloan brush, for waxing. If you can afford it, great, but it's kind of pricey. You can use a regular paintbrush from the hardware store. You don't need anything fancy. The other thing I'm gonna use are these blue, I think they're auto detailing towels. I got them from Home Depot. I'm pretty sure you can get them at the auto store as well. They're just blue paper towels, and they have a really, really soft texture. They're great for removing the wax. Just like with the paint, you don't wanna apply your wax too thick. I like to take my brush and just kind of pat it inside of the can to get a little bit of wax on it, and then I just kind of slap it on just like with the paint. I'm not too careful about getting perfect coverage the first time, especially because I'm going to do 2 coats of wax. I like to work in sections. I apply wax in a small area, and then I take my blue towels and I wipe it off in that area, and then I continue on throughout my piece in the same fashion. I took a little break from waxing just to see what was going on with this hardware, and I used Brasso to clean it up. And after a few cleanings, I really wasn't completely happy with it. They were really, really dirty, but the main problem was not that they were dirty or that I didn't like the way the hardware looked. It was that the handle did not come clean at all. So the handle stayed dark, where the backing actually cleaned it quite well, and I could have used a little brush to get into those grooves to clean it really well, but I decided to go ahead and take them all outside and spray paint them. And I prefer the gold spray paint from Michaels. It's their 24 karat gold spray paint, and I'll link it below in the description box, but you can use any gold spray paint. Got my little sidekick and the baby Bjorn just hanging out with me. Halfway done with waxing. Hopefully have this put together by the end of today. Really excited. So a question I sometimes get about chalk painting is, should you use a foam roller to avoid brush strokes? And personally, I think if you don't want to see brush strokes, then I'm not really sure why you're using chalk paint. Because chalk paint, it has a lot of character to it, especially after you wax it. It's like rich and textured, and I personally don't like that really flat look. I think if that's what you want, then you should use latex paint or some other type of paint. But I also suggest if you do like a little bit of a smoother look and you do want to use chalk paint, that you can sand in between coats. I personally don't like that look. I like to see the brush strokes, and I really love after I wax it, that it brings some of those strokes and that texture out. And that's what I love about using chalk paint. It just has a lot of character to it. It doesn't look like something that's from IKEA or something that you could have just purchased on Amazon. It looks like something that was custom made, that has history, that has character to it. It's just unique, and that's why I like it. So I don't sand in between coats, and I like to see my brush strokes. I don't want them to be crazy. I try to make sure everything goes in the same direction, especially if it goes with the grain of the wood, but I do like to see the brush strokes. So I don't know if you guys can tell from the video, but this is the second coat of wax, and it goes on so much faster and quicker than when you do it the first time. So don't be discouraged when you're first applying your wax, and it is a little bit tough. The first coat to go on is a little tough. The second coat is so quick, and I'm actually gonna do a third coat up here just because it's gonna get a little more wear on top, and I wanna make sure I really have a nice thick sealant on it, and I'm also gonna do a third coat on the front of the drawers.